What's up, everybody? My name is Michael, or Kiratze Online. Hopefully you guys are having a positively fantastic day so far, and I'm here with another episode of You Should Play, and this is You Should Play Graveyard Keeper. Graveyard Keeper is by the same developers as Punch Club. If you are a fan of that game, I'm sure you'll enjoy this one as well. The developer is Lazy Bear, as well as it is published by Tiny Build. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with Tiny Build. They publish a lot of cool indie games. I've gotten a lot of press keys from them, so big shout out to Tiny Build. Thank you so much for sending me early alpha access. But don't worry, if you guys are a fan of this type of game, or if you enjoy any of the things that I'm saying, or any of the things that you see on screen, and you want to play it right away yourself, you are welcome to. This is alpha. So just a heads up, anything that you see is subject to change, as well as they do have a lot of things to fix and add to the game. So just bear that in mind. But if you go to their website, graveyardkeeper.com, you can actually pre-order the game and one of the packages. There's 3 different packages. There's a deluxe edition, which I believe gives you the soundtrack and the art book, if I'm not mistaken. And then there's the early access pack, which gives you the base game and the access to the alpha, which is what I'm currently playing right now. And then there's also just the main game that you can pre-order, and the main game comes out August 15th of this year, 2018. So if you want to play right away, you can. Just bear in mind, of course, it is early alpha. But it's a pretty damn solid game. I was actually very impressed and very taken aback with how much I played. I played about 5.5 hours on stream. And I originally was only going to play a couple of hours and then play Rainbow Six Siege for the rest of the time, but I just got hooked on it. It was a lot of fun. It's a very nice chill game to play. If you're familiar with Stardew Valley, I'm sure you'll see a lot of, not really similarities, but I'm sure you'll see sort of a Stardew Valley feel for it. But it looks a lot better. I love the art in this game. Big shout out to whoever did the sprite art, because it's very detailed, very fantastic. And it's just really, really solid. And this game is... The game caught me off guard because I didn't expect it to be as deep as it was. There are a lot of layers to this game, and I could see someone sinking tons and tons of hours into this game. Like I said, I put in 5.5 hours. I did have to restart my run due to a bug, but I think playing one save file for 5.5 hours, I still would have had a lot to experience in the game. So what Graveyard Keeper is, I mean, the name should be self-explanatory, but you are someone who recently died in the modern life. Don't worry, that's not a super spoiler. It literally happens in the first 5 seconds of the game. And you get transported to this past life or past world, where you are now a graveyard keeper for a small town. So you're someone who used to live in present day with like cell phones and all that modern technology, and now you're living as the graveyard keeper for this small town. And that's pretty much what it throws you into. It introduces you to some quirky characters. This game is definitely on the quirky side in terms of its NPCs that you can talk to. A lot of them have relationships that you can build upon, and you'll get access to more ways to buy things from them, or access to quests or dialogue options. So it does have that layer of sort of just figuring out who you want to get close with, essentially. And I feel like in this game, I did have to make some choices in the game through dialogue that I feel will impact your gameplay in terms of who you're able to be friends with and who you're able to, and who you're enemies with. But yeah, all you're doing is building up your house, you're repairing the graveyard, and ranking up through the church, essentially. Additionally, you're uncovering different things through quests and different events. Like I said, I didn't play too much. And I have a lot left over to go through. I will be streaming this a little bit more at least, but I don't want to stream too much just because I don't really like burning myself out on these early access games. And yeah, I definitely I'm probably going to wait till full release to sort of really dive into the game. Maybe. I haven't decided yet if I'm fully going to dive into it, because I really do enjoy this game, but even just the style of game, I'm not sure if it's something for me long term, but I'll say for sure I really enjoyed my time with this game. And you can sort of see me here tending to the grave, and one of the characters, it's a talking donkey actually, he periodically brings corpses for you, and you have to actually keep on top of putting them into the grave and upkeeping the graves and tending to the graves, because if you do the graves without, decorating them, it'll actually lower the quality of the graveyard as a whole. And your job is to actually upkeep it and make it look nice, essentially. But, sometimes you just get caught up with other things, and I found myself even dumping some bodies in the river because I didn't have graveyard slots anymore, and I didn't want to lower the quality of my graveyard too much because I didn't have access to decorating them as much. So there's some pretty interesting things that can happen in this game, and it has a lot of character. It's got a lot of quirkiness, but like I said, it's got a lot of depth to it. There's even research trees. You probably saw them already on screen. There's, I believe, 6 different research trees, from like alchemy and anatomy to harvesting to smithing to building to woodworking. And it's very, very cool. And I haven't even touched a lot of the stuff like alchemy and anatomy. Like the corpses that you are burying, you're actually able to harvest things from them before burying them. And using those ingredients, you'll be able to do, I'm sure, some pretty funky stuff later down the road. But yeah, like I said, also, there's a quest system. I haven't done too many quests, just pretty much the basic ones. And it's one of those games where it uses the early quests to sort of act as the tutorial for the game. And there's even combat, which is another layer to the game, which is really, really awesome, because I am not really one to just sort of harvest and build things. Having combat there really is a huge appeal to me, especially if they do add in like pretty cool loot. Because I was talking, one of the developers came by my chat actually, and I was talking to him, and he mentioned there's currently 1 dungeon in the alpha build, so I'm not really sure how many dungeons they're planning on adding, but just the fact that they have dungeons is a really big appeal to someone like myself who enjoys going and fighting and looting, and it'd be a nice break from just sort of harvesting and building and breaking that thing sort of up. Now, because it's alpha, I did run into some bugs. Like I said, some game breaking bugs occurred. Additionally, there's a lot of quality of life stuff they haven't put in yet, and I'm not sure how much they're planning on putting in, but things like a map would be nice. The game world isn't crazy huge, but even just from the areas that I've explored so far, it's large enough where a map would really be useful, considering there are a lot of things to keep track of, especially considering NPCs, for example. They only are at certain locations on certain days of the week. So that's something to be wary of. There is some management involved, as with most of these types of games, but if you're, used to that type of stuff, it shouldn't be too hard to pick up. But yeah, it's got a lot of character. I really enjoyed my time with it. I hope they add some more quality of life stuff to it soon. One of my issues is the energy system. I believe Stardew Valley has or at least had an energy system. I don't know if it's in it anymore. But this game does have an energy system, which I'm not a huge fan of. I think they need to balance it a little bit. I don't mind the energy system as a whole, because it does make sense. It does force you to go back to your bed so you can sleep and save, since your bed and sleeping is the only way that it actually saves the game, currently at least. And you don't get access to too many actions before you actually run out of energy. And if you run out of energy, you literally can't do anything. You can move, you can pick up things, but you can't harvest, you can't build, you can't work on anything. And it really slows down the game a lot, especially since I don't really want to have to fill my inventory up with food and stuff like that, since food's one of the main ways to get energy. You can also eat flowers, but sleep also regenerates it to full. So I think it needs a little bit of a balance. I think you should be able to work a little longer than what you do now. Maybe that's just personal preference, but I found myself sleeping a shit ton, as well as just having to pick a bunch of flowers up just to eat something so I can have access to energy. I mean, yeah, like I said, it might be personal preference, but I think that's something that can be adjusted. And like I said, this is all alpha, and this is early alpha, so all of this will likely change. I almost guarantee it'll change, just because I'm sure I'm not the only one with these kinds of thoughts. It is a little rough around the edges. I believe the developer is Russian, I think a viewer told me the developer is Russian. So in the dialogue, there are quite a few grammatical errors and spelling errors. Again, those are things that are going to be smoothed out by the final release, I'm sure. And there are some basic quality of life things they need to add, like hotkeys for going straight to your inventory or your quests and stuff like that. I would say also the NPCs for keeping track of quests and things like that. I find it's a little bit difficult. I would like actually like a notes system, since a lot of the stuff you seem to have to memorize and remember, like, okay, this NPC is going to be here on this day, and he wants X, Y, or Z. It gives you a brief outline of when that character, appears on what day, and sort of the basics of what they want, but it won't remind you, like, okay, it's over by the swamp or things like that. So I think a little bit more in-depth journal would be nice, or at least a way to take notes in the game. That'd be cool, especially if the quests get a lot deeper in complexity. So that's just sort of my concerns with the game, but they're pretty minor. And honestly, a lot of the stuff that I mentioned, like I said, I'm sure will get smoothed out by the full release. Because overall I had a lot of fun with it, and I will be streaming a little bit more of it. So if you're curious, make sure to check out my Twitch channel down below. I will be streaming this game a little bit longer as I wait for a full release and as I wait for other games to come out. But yeah, I would say if you're into games like Stardew Valley or Minecraft or any of those types of games, like, I don't know what you would call these types of games, simulator games, building games, survival games. I wouldn't say it's a survival game, but it's because it's not really like a farming simulator either. Well, I mean, maybe you can throw it in the simulator. Stardew Valley is honestly just like the biggest thing I can compare it to, or like Harvest Moon or something like that. So if you're into those types of games, I think you'll really, really enjoy this game. But even if you're someone like myself who isn't really interested in the subject matter of Stardew Valley, this has a pretty unique setting, and it's got a pretty unique idea with it. And I'm interested to see how far they'll take it as well, since like I've harvested some human flesh from one of the corpses, and apparently I can use that human flesh to cook and turn it into meat to use as a sandwich. So I'm curious as to see how far they're going to take this sort of death and corpse theme, especially considering I haven't touched the alchemy yet. I'm sure there'll be some very, very fun things you can do, as well as I'm excited to check out and explore the dungeon if I can get to it in time. So yeah, like I said, if any of the things that I mentioned or any of the things that you saw interested you and you want to start playing the game right away, you could do that by going to the Graveyard Keeper website. It's just graveyardkeeper.com, and you can purchase it for $25 for the main game and the early access to alpha, and you can start playing right away. Just bear in mind it's very early alpha. You'll encounter bugs. I believe they mentioned there are going to be some save wipes probably throughout the alpha, but if you just want to try the game out, I mean, it's $20, I believe, for the base game pre-order, and so for $5 extra, you can start playing it right away. So I would say it's definitely worth it for that $5 extra just to sort of play the game right away. Obviously, it'll be better if you know for sure you're going to buy it. You don't want to pre-order something that you're not planning on playing when it comes out fully, but still, there's definitely enough content in here for a good, solid time. I would say there's at least 10 hours. I would say there's probably around 10 hours at least. Again, I don't know how far they're taking things for the quests and things like that, but just in terms of how long it took me to research certain things and how much left I had to research, that's just sort of the general idea I have. But yeah, that's going to do it for me. But just a little off topic, or actually quite a bit off topic, I just want to sort of make a note here. That at the time of this recording today, actually during my stream on May 24th, John Bain, you guys might know as Total Biscuit, he passed away from cancer today. And I want to acknowledge him because he played a huge part in my life as just a gamer, as someone who's into the gaming culture. And I probably would not be here if it weren't for him in terms of just creating content online, because he was one of the first people I hooked onto when I started discovering Let's Plays on YouTube. And even before streaming, 5+ years ago, I started doing YouTube Let's Plays. I believe Cryostasis was my very first full playthrough. And a lot of the games I did for my Let's Plays on YouTube, on an alternate account, not this one, I actually, checked out his WTF series. And yeah, he was just a big inspiration to, I'm sure, plenty of others online. He was a huge impact on the gaming industry. He helped shaped it a lot as well. And he fought for the consumer, which is a huge And yeah, I just want to acknowledge him. Thank you, John. I'm sure you're up there watching over the gaming community. And yeah, that's all I'll say about that. But yeah, sad news indeed. But anyways, guys, that's gonna do it for me. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you guys next time.